Welcome back to the channel. Fellow subscribers, this might become a head scratch to most of you since this is not going to be your typical video. This is for IEM lovers and or enthusiasts. IEM stands for in-ear monitor, and I bought myself a pair of in-ear monitors that are very expensive. But I didn't want to treat this like your typical review blah 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 sound. I kind of want to go in depth and really highlight how this IEM was made and performs and everything in between. Without further ado, let's get into it. Aful, not awful. It's more than just a brand, it's a declaration of intent. It stands for Aful, signifying a state of completeness, perfection, the relentless pursuit of excellence. So, Aful was founded in 2018, and it spent years establishing a dedicated acoustic team focused on high quality 3D printing and advanced sound technology. Now we've reached the year 2025, going into 2026, what time you're watching this, and they finally have reached their magnum opus, the Dawn X. A flagship model that retails at $1,300, and I was the guy to spend that much money on these IEMs. Well, why did I spend that much money? Well, I've been in the music, not industry, but I definitely dive deep into music, production, bands. I've been doing this for over 16 years, so you can see why I'm heavily invested. Dawn X is rooted in a specific ephemeral moment in nature, the transition from night to light. The night yields to light. The design is meant to capture the beauty of the first ray of the sun awakening the world. The horizon glows like molten gold. So, with this dawn theme, you look at the in-ears and you realize something. As you see the design of the in-ear, it mimics the sunrise. The beauty, the glow. Dawn, theme, it's a metaphor for hope, vitality, and refreshing new energy. Because they wanted to match that natural inspiration, they wanted to turn that into a design piece. So they turned away from industrial metals that are used to make IEMs, and they wanted to embrace nature's most stored gift, wood. Not just any type of wood, this is a rare custom stabilized wood. If we look at wood, it's porous, it breathes, it expands, it shrinks. So they have to figure out a way to lock all of this in the earpiece and make it look pretty as well. I'm not saying they did it, but this is the way it would have been done. They take the wood, they place it in a vacuum chamber, then they suck out all the air fibers, then they would pump in a specialized liquid resin and a pearl powder pigments. So every cell of wood is filled with resin, and it creates a waterproof, rock-hard composite material, and it retains the organic wood grain while adding a 3D shimmering depth, kind of like the hood of a high-end sports car. No two pieces of wood are identical, so like every in-ear that they make is basically like a one-of-one design. So think of when you're looking at the Dawn X, you're looking at a sunrise. And when you're looking at a sunrise, you realize that sunrise is never going to look the same the next day. So let's put that in perspective. Now there's a lot of reviewers, maybe a few, that have expressed their concern about the design because there's not much variety or customization. You have to kind of put into the fact that they did design this with intention. Now, of course, they could have expanded their, category of colors and different designs, but I think they wanted to focus more on what the Dawn X is and put a theme to that. But I really do like the idea of every single piece that they design is one of a kind, especially in how they, pour the resin in and this, all that jazz. If we take a look at the size of these IEMs, they're quite big, a lot bigger than most IEMs. To ensure the Dawn X fits as many people as possible, they utilize this massive database of thousands of 3D ear scans. And by analyzing these fingerprints of the human ear, they use a computer modeling to identify the perfect average shape. The shell features a specific ergonomic curve or wing that is designed to lock into the pole of your ear. So this design is critical because it distributes the weight across the natural shell of your ear rather than letting the IEM just hang off your ear canal. If we look at the back of the IEM, we notice there is a hole. What is this? Well, think of it as a pressure relief vent. Next to the text on the shell, this allows air to leak out slowly when you insert it into your ear. It's balancing the internal and external pressure. This is what they like to call high damping air pressure balance system. Typically, when you insert a silicone tip into your ear, it creates this airtight seal. It traps the air pressure against your eardrum. So sometimes this could lead to fatigue or clogged feeling. This not only does some comfort stuff, but it also prevents driver flex. When you put in cheap in-ears inside your ear and you hear this clicking or pop sound, well, that's the driver flexing. Luckily, the seal is good enough to provide some noise isolation. On the website, they claim 26 dB of passive noise reduction. So this makes them pretty well. And I put these in my ear and things do drop pretty fast in terms of outside noise. It handles ear tips very well. Now, it comes with 4 sets of ear tips: black, gray, white, and a red-black finish. Various sizes, different materials. However, the stock IEMs are very hard to get on. And that's not fun when you're trying to just put on ear tips. And that takes away from the experience of the unboxing. So, Aful, you have some addressing to do. Maybe with your next IEM, this will be addressed. I guess I'm the only one saying this on YouTube. However, it does work well with other IEM tips. I own Divinus wideboard tips. I own SpinFit W1s. I own the Azil. This brand, I can't even pronounce it. There's just a few that I like, and I've tried on these and they all fit very well. They go on easy. Some seal better than others, but that just comes with the ear tips, so choose wisely. Moving from the artistic exterior into the internals of the Dawn X, we find a quite insane 14-driver Quad-brid. My camera subscribers, if you don't know what that means, it means there's 14 speakers. Little speakers in this. Yeah, this isn't just a high driver count for the sake of marketing. It's a meticulously engineered orchestra. It uses 4 distinct types of technology to cover a massive frequency range, 5 Hertz to 35,000 Hertz. So this is way beyond our human range of hearing. Now let's deep dive into the driver blueprint. To achieve what sources call a seamless integration, Aful utilizes a specific recipe of drivers, each designed and assigned to a dedicated role. 1. The silicone driver, which handles the low frequencies, the sub-bass. It uses a liquid silicone surrounding by a rubbery ring that is more resilient and bouncy than standard plastics. So this allows for a long stroke air push that mimics the physical impact of a real speaker. We have 8 balanced armatures. So these are the workhorses of the mid and high frequencies. By using 8 drivers for the mids, each one only has to work at the fraction of its power, roughly 12% each, which leads to drastically clearer sound, less distortion. Then we have 4 electrostatic drivers. These act as super tweeters, so ultra high frequencies. While most IEMs only use ESTs above, 9,000 hertz maybe, Aful's wideband electrostatic technology enables them to operate effectively from 5,000 hertz to 20,000 and beyond. So this is a very silky, smooth, highly resolved character. And lastly, 1 bone conduction driver. Unlike the others, this driver doesn't push air. It vibrates the shell directly. These vibrations travel through your skin and into your ear bones, adding a sense of power and feel to the music that you can get from standard drivers alone. Now, me personally, I haven't been able to really tell. It just kind of gives me the sense that these ears are just more dynamic than they usually would seem. Now, because you have 14 speakers making sound, they have to utilize a technology to make sure these work perfectly with each other. So, Aful uses a multi-dimensional 6-way electronic plus 6-way physical crossover system. So this is where the engineering gets deep and the rabbit hole gets deeper. You're going to understand why the engineering behind this IEM is kind of insane. So when you have all of these drivers, or let's just say 4 drivers playing the same vocal, the waves can crash into each other. So this makes the singer sound a bit more phased or slightly off to the listener, and they have to utilize a system or a suppression just to fix this. So Aful created this phase interference suppression. It splits the mids into paths, sound path A and B, slightly offsets the timing in the tube shapes. So the longer tube or whatever gets the timing of this, and the shorter one gets this timing. And it ensures sound waves stack perfectly rather than clashing. So it makes the vocals feel like they're standing right in front of you, Most IEMs use this simple thing called RC, resistor capacitor. These are circuits. Aful adds an inductor, which is L in the RLC, which allows them to create a sharp cliff in the sound frequency. So this stops high frequencies instantly the moment they aren't needed. So this is preventing treble glare or piercing sounds. So the way they're getting sound to travel is they're going through these tubes. They're using this 3D micro resonance acoustic pad. The way they name these is artistic as well. Think of this as a complex plumbing system inside the shell. Aful 3D prints slim physical tubes of varying lengths to ensure the sound from the fast drivers and the slow drivers reach your eardrum at the exact same microsecond. So imagine 14 different musicians trying to play a single song inside a small room. Without the conductor, could turn into a mess. Because if somebody gets off time or something like that, that can go pretty haywire. So think of the RLC crossover as the conductor, keeping everybody in time, while the 3D resonance tubes basically precisely built hallways that ensure the sound from the drummer at the back and the violinist at the front reaches your ears at the same time. Talk about a perfect, unified performance. Now, with all that being said, you're probably wondering what these sound like. Well, I'm the right guy to tell you what these sound like after listening to quite a few IEMs and just music in general. Yeah. This is nuts. The first song I played on these was Bohemian Rhapsody. And right away, it just sounded, the best way I could put it is, it just sounds like everything is right in front of you. And you are just able to pinpoint where sound is coming from. So the soundstage is not like this grand wide thing. It's like the soundstage is just like this perfect 360. And when you hear a sound come from like a specific direction, you could just point your finger in that direction. Whereas in like cheap in-ears that I've used, or just headphones or whatever, it's like it's hard to just tell. It just sounds like it's in that general direction. These just like literally tell you, oh, it's right there. I guess I could work on the frequency range. I'm not much of this frequency response graph guy, but I pay attention to just how, the sound is, making sure the highs aren't too much and the lows aren't super bass heavy. I'm kind of the guy to be more neutral. And these in-ears lean a bit more bass, low mids heavy, and it takes some time to get used to because it slowly, when you break in IEMs, it just kind of settles down a bit. So after a while, I started to hear a bit more details. There's obviously low end detail, and it really is there. Because when they hit like in that song Bohemian Rhapsody, when they hit cymbals or hit drums, like you really hear the dynamics pop out in the low end. And that's something else I want to get into, is the dynamics of these in-ears are pretty well done. Oh, I forgot to mention to you guys that when I first listened to these, I bought my first shit stack. So my first listen was on the shit stacks. Now I've listened to other IEMs on the shit stacks before I got these, so I just wanted to get a general idea of what it's going to sound like. And yeah, these are so dynamic with the shit stacks. Sounds that are quiet, and when it gets loud, it gets loud. And when I turn it up, it just doesn't like hurt my ears. It's like my ears adjust to it. Whereas as far as like on my Motu M2, if I turn it up, it's gonna start it just starts to hurt my ears. Don't know really how to explain it, but the shit just doesn't. I know, right? The shit, it just does it so well. So yeah, this is such a good match of products working together. As far as the mids, everything is clear. I'm not like getting this V-shaped sound that I know like a lot of people chase, the V-shape, or maybe, some people just prefer warmer or higher. I wanted to get something a bit more warmer, and these definitely sound a bit more warm, only if you use the shit stacks, I think. I use these with my R3 Pro 2 by Hibby, and it's a bit less warm and more bright. That's just something I noticed. On my Motu, things are just a bit more bright and neutral-ish, but on the shit stacks, they are more warm. And moving on to the high end, very crystal clear high end. I mean, you hear everything, and it's not too sharp. If things are very sharp, it really is just a matter of how the song was mixed. I mean, I think these IEMs are what you would describe as a mix engineer's IEMs, or just to hear neutral sound and point out the things that you don't want to hear. And these IEMs point out things that I think the mix engineer maybe didn't hear on his equipment, her equipment. I don't know exactly if that's the best way to put it, but I know like when I listen back to music that I've made, I'm able to just know, oh yeah, that definitely is something, that's definitely something I should have paid more attention to. And the IEMs, the Don X's pretty much highlight that well. So good on you, Don X, for that. Now, as far as like IEM tips, in-ear tips, yeah, they do make a difference. Since I have the wide bore ones, and I just bought the Tanju wide bore, which I prefer better because the way they feel in my ears, less fatigue. There is a lot more open high end with those wide bore tips. But if I want to get better, seal and sound, bass and stuff like that, I'll turn to these ones. Or maybe the Spinfits. They sound a bit more neutral. But these ones particular, since I can't remember off my head and I have to show you the picture, yeah, there's a lot more bass, a bit less highs, but I mean, it's so subtle. I mean, it's hard to know. I mean, you really have to like be listening between all your IEMs. If you know them well, you'll be able to just kind of notice right away. So it is a very subtle change, but it does make a difference depending on what you do. So that is that. One more thing I could talk about is the bone conduction, or the low end of songs. For instance, Prince's Te Amo Corazon. As soon as you play the song, you hear the drums kick in, and like it almost gives you a sense like you're feeling the drums in your head. The kick drum like is so full and warm and clear. And it just sits right. Like, it's, for some bass heads, I think this would be nice to have, depending on what you drive it with. But obviously, spending that amount of money, you might steer somewhere else. And this is for the more neutral listener, but like, yeah. And in that song, there's like these other instruments that come in, and oh my gosh, like it just sounds like the strings, for example, just sound so velvet. Just so rich and so deep. Like, that's why I have to like play the song for you guys, just so you get an example of what I'm talking about. It's just like these IEMs highlight that so well, especially paired with my shit stacks. Like, it just brings the music to life. I feel like I can hear more tonality out of things and more timbre, more character. Like, sounds, obviously, like on my Motu or any other IEM, it sounds good. It sounds, like I'm hearing the music. But on the Don X's, I feel like I'm feeling the music inside, not just hearing. I'm feeling something. And I really don't like to exaggerate things or should, put these BuzzFeed words out. It just, I try to be authentic and honest with this. So out of all the IEMs that I've owned, I mean, these ones are the best to me. Like, particularly spending this much money, yeah, you would think so, but like, these are legitimately the best sounding ones that I have. Yeah, that's what I can say about these. Now, this in-depth review is not really complete unless I give the rest of the tour as far as the unboxing. Yes, why don't we get into that as well? The Aful Don X box is roughly the size of my hand, and upon sliding out the sleeves, it reveals the official Aful logo. Nice navy blue. Inside, we get the case and the ears separately. I like the way that they put the ears separately from the case to kind of highlight that, hey, this is our product. We want you to see it right away. On the other hand, the box is this nice leatherette navy blue finish. Looks very nice. Sometimes it might get caught a few times when you zip it up, but that's just zippers, Inside, we have 4 in-ear tips in a case, which, as they should be. And then we have this nice velvet brown chocolate finish. I mean, it's lovely. I'm glad they pay attention to at least some design here, which I'm very glad that they did that, because sometimes, I mean, all the time, your ears need to be cleaned and your in-ears need to be cleaned as well. Looking at the cable, it's an 8-strand 3D braided dark chocolate brown finish. Very nice cable. This cable is constructed from a high purity 6N single crystal copper. Litz braided design. This composite structure is intended to provide the maximum conductivity while minimizing signal loss and resistance. So in plain English, it's just cleaner sound. One thing I like about these cables is that they're not too heavy. They are heavier than most cables that I own, and I don't own any special cables except one that's interchangeable between 3.5, 4.4, but these are kind of like right in between. They sit around the ear nicely, they hang down nicely, not too heavy. Yes, like I said, they are color coordinated for which ear to put in. I bought the 4.4 version of the cable. I know that some people have expressed concern about not having modular swapping cables, but I think Aful doesn't need to go straight into that. I think they should just focus on making what works for them. They also have this little thing that comes out in case, you have this running up the back of your shirt and you want to tighten it so it's not, dangling all over the place. It kind of stays up around your neck and on your ears It stays very well, and it's tighter on the cable. It doesn't really put any stress on it. And when you put it back, it kind of snaps back into place. Almost snaps. You don't hear a snapping sound, but it almost feels like it does. Now I shall express my cons with this IEM. Let's start off with our in-ear tips, because boy, those are a nightmare. But once you get them on, they feel pretty good. All the sizes do. I just don't know why they made the nozzle of the in-ear smaller. I mean, you want these to just fit on there, and they don't come off. You have to really pull, but like getting them on it's just not fun. It takes away from the experience. So I wish they had fixed that. They should have known that when they made these, and I don't know why they haven't decided to follow through with that. So also, maybe, you know, for a $1,300 price tag, you thought you'd get a bit more out of the box, and I can sort of agree in most cases. But I don't know exactly what else they would need to add besides the better inner tips. Maybe the cable could be swappable, but maybe if Aful is really good at just making a specific type of cable for the in-ear, then so be it. The size of the in-ears, relatively bigger than you would imagine, and I think for what it's doing, like the technology inside of these, I think the size is pretty well done. I mean, I have Jerry Harvey JH16s, and those are huge. Like, those are custom, but those are huge. And these, comparing these to my 7Hz sound notes, I mean, they're almost the same size. They're just a little bit bigger. The size is big, but I mean, it's not too much of a hassle. These do sit nicely. They don't feel like they're hanging out of my ear or anything. They feel nice. One could say that the design of these is really cool, but they don't have more variety, and I can agree with that. I kind of wish they had maybe different colors that mimic the sunrise, maybe some pinks, maybe some oranges. The design is one of a kind, but it sticks to only this design, and I feel like they could get away with just adding a bit more color variety added the theme of a sunrise. So that's something else I thought I'd highlight. Now, they did mention something about this occlusion effect, which is basically like the sound of your own voice while you're wearing earbuds. They said they minimized that a lot, and really I don't think that happened at all. I can still hear my voice, and I think that's a normal thing. Whenever you put anything in your ear, you're gonna hear your voice internally just vibrating through your whole head. So other than that, I mean, there's really nothing else bad I could say about these IEMs. They're just exceptionally well made, exceptional sound, exceptional build, technology, and the design. I mean, very cool. I love the theme behind it. You know, it's funny because Z Reviews did a review on this, and he said these look like meat, and it's just hard to not picture that, because why would you say that, you know? So I want you guys to think of a sunrise every single time you see these IEMs. Sunrise, morning, Dawn X, okay? That's why they put the name there. With that being said, I've reached the end of the video, and I hope you liked the video too. This is not something I normally do. I don't normally review IEMs, and this is my first review ever, so cut me some slack on, I guess, my knowledge, but I mean, I tried my best. The information I got was off their website, and I used Google Notebook LM to help me kind of curate good responses, and just helping out a bit with the structure of a summary and other things about this that I probably wouldn't explain as well. So props to Google on that. If you guys want more content like this, maybe I'll start a second channel where I focus maybe more on IEMs or just reviews or in-depth working the cinematic phases of getting the right shot for this. So any other brands that want to reach out to me to do reviews for them, and I'll do basically the same thing, get some cool shots and put your brand out there, reach out to me. Very happy to have these in my hands, and hey, if you guys ever get a set on something like this, cherish it while you can, because I'm going to cherish these as long as I can, especially with my shit. Now, was that an awful pun? You can unsubscribe.